darn kids with your fancy phones and your fast internet.
Your kids carry beepers?
Sometimes it's a great way to connect my family. When I dial the satellite tone beeper, Jenny knows it's time to call or come home.
Really?
Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 things children today don't recognize.
I was born in the 40s, so I have no idea what you're talking about.
For this list, we're looking at pieces of technology or pop culture that were once popular and innovative, but have now become obsolete due to the superior technology of today.
It's going to change your life in ways you can't possibly imagine.
There's no set time period. As long as a child growing up today wouldn't recognize or know how to use an item, it is eligible. Number 10, phone books.
What the?
More?
Hey, man, you got a serious attitude problem.
Quick, think of your sibling's phone number. Did you know it right away? Probably not, because these days, names and numbers are in our contact lists, and a phone call is a push of a button away. Gone are the days when you actually had to hunt down the person you wanted to call by finding his or her city and his or her last name in the phone book.
When you need to know who, what, where, when, and why, let your fingers do the walking through the Bell System Yellow Pages.
You also had to look up businesses rather than Google the name and follow the phone number.
Soon Fat Chinese Takeaway. 728-9630. Do we not need area codes? Or are there others probably no area codes so they don't call these?
In fact, it seems like these days, phone books are more often used as fodder to show off your inhuman strength than anything else.
Come on, you're stronger than me. What, you gonna let me show you up on television?
You want to get whacked in the head with a phone book?
Number 9, TV guides.
Find out who censors what we see and why in the new issue of TV Guide.
Ah, the TV guide. Yep, even watching TV used to be a pain in the ass, as you had to look up each specific day, find out what was playing, what channel it was on, and plan your schedule accordingly.
The fun, all the shows A to Z and the facts. What's behind what you see?
You see, kids, before the internet, pirating, Amazon, and a host of other providers weren't around to allow access to your shows whenever you wanted. Not to mention that now, cable boxes come with a guide that's just a push of a button away.
Record up to 6 shows at the same time. Plus, you can record in one room and watch in another.
Too bad, though. We kind of liked seeing which celebrity was on the cover of this week's issue.
The stars, underneath all the glow and the news, from the people who know.
Number 8, Rotary Phones.
What's the very first thing you'd have to do to use that phone?
I have no idea.
We're going way back for this one. Even before touch-tone phones, do they still make those? There were rotary dial phones. You may recognize them from museums or old people movies. Basically, the phone had a circle with finger holes representing a certain button that you had to tediously spin one at a time to simply call someone.
For convenience in dialing, the letters go around the dial in alphabetical order, and the numbers are in numerical order.
Thank God for Google. These started going out of style in the 1960s when touch-tone phones came in.
Touch-tone service gives you faster calling and future technology like banking by phone.
So it's best to skip your parents and go straight to the grandparents for stories about these relics.
There was a rotor, and you had to turn and go. You actually hated people with zeros in their numbers.
Number 7, video rental stores.
Imagine the perfect video store. It would have a great selection, right? Right, over 10,000 videos.
Remember when we said watching TV was a pain? That's nothing compared to watching movies at home. Before instant access to movies, you had to get in your car, drive to the store, choose, and then pay for a movie you wanted to rent. Drive home and watch it, if they had the movie you wanted at all.
Excuse me, sir, I'm sorry. Do you have Ghostbusters on VHS?
There's no VHS here, buddy.
After all that, you'd have to drive back to the store, return it, and then drive back home again. That's not to mention the ridiculous late fees if you don't make it back on time before the deadline.
No more late fees! No more late fees!
You may still find a Blockbuster sign somewhere if you go urban exploring, although it'll probably be unrecognizable with all the graffiti and broken beer bottles. Poor Blockbuster, we hardly knew ye.
They're closing the remaining 300 stores, which I think might raise the question, there were still 300 Blockbuster stores open?
Number 6, pagers, also known as beepers.
All right, you got him?
Hey, yo, find the phone real quick. Look like my man D got himself an emergency.
Until the early 90s, there were tons of different pagers on the market. But once cheap and reliable cell phones came along, these wireless telecommunication devices all went the way of the dinosaurs.
You can switch off, pager.
I wish I could. I've been waiting for a phone call for 7 years.
Which, funnily enough, is what you'll be called if you still use one. Alphanumeric pagers simply displayed a phone number that you had to call back, while more advanced ones like the two-way QWERTY pagers could send and receive early forms of text messages.
Stay in touch without disturbing anyone with two-way paging and email from SkyTel.
This is nothing that a cell phone can't do, though. So pagers are now the butt of ridicule and comedy.
Oh, God.
Yep, meeting started. Without me.
Number 5. Portable audio players, Walkman and Discman.
Sony introduces the only cassette player as small as a cassette case. The incredible sounding Super Walkman.
Walk down the street today using one of these bad boys, and not only will you look super cool, but also the sound quality and reliability will blow you away. End sarcasm. A Walkman or Discman is a portable audio player, with the former for cassettes and the latter for CDs, that would sometimes fit in your pocket.
I could just imagine you guys like 13-year-olds just like, thug life represent.
If we're talking a Walkman, then we'd have to deal with turning over the cassette tapes once you'd reached the end of one side.
So today you can fit thousands of songs on a phone, but on a cassette you could only fit up to about 30 songs.
I feel bad for the people who lived in the 90s. I really do.
When it comes to a Discman, it would seem that it always started skipping at the most inopportune times because, well, they sucked. In reality, these portable music players were usually bulky and inconvenient. And there was no shuffle on a cassette, so you better have made a really good mixtape. Darn kids with your 128 gig iPods and phones.
Take this in a heartbeat now. I'd want my phone.
Number 4, video cassette recorder, also known as VCR and VHS.
What the heck is that thing? What is this?
Before the days of fancy Blu-rays and 1080p high-definition video, we had VHS tapes, and they were awful in every conceivable way.
That's why nobody's using it anymore.
VHS ultimately beat out rival Betamax, despite the fact that the latter was smaller and had better video quality. Then there was the fact that you had to rewind VHS videotape cassettes and fast-forward them if you wanted to get to a particular scene.
Huh, nothing.
Recording shows on VCRs was cool, but all older viewers of this video know the frustrations of accidentally taping over your kids' first steps. We don't really miss you, VHS.
So finally, compared to how today you can record and watch movies, do you think it's good that technology got better, or do you think it would still be fine if we were using the VCR?
I think it is so much better that we have new technology and not VCRs anymore.
Number 3, developing photographic film.
Wait a minute, isn't this thing even on?
Ah, the joys of old cameras. In this video, you'll see old cameras like your mom and dad had. You see, they couldn't see how their pictures turned out until they got them developed. That's right, you had to go to the store or a photo lab and wait a few hours for your pictures to be chemically developed into a photo you can actually see.
Like a Mini Lux. It's a very nice camera.
Really? Because Will's been trying to get me to go digital, and
Oh, don't do that. I'd be out of a job.
It was only then that you could finally check your masterpieces. And more often than not, it would only be to find out that the beautiful picture you thought you took was ruined by the flash.
4 full-power flashes and 1 tiny cube.
We know. Imagine a world where you couldn't retake the same selfie 100 times to get it just right. The horror.
But first, let me take a selfie.
Number 2, dial-up internet access.
Now that I've gotten on the internet, I'd rather be on my computer than doing just about anything.
It's really cool.
Isn't it amazing that you can watch this video in HD without having to suffer through buffering or having to make a sandwich while it loaded? Yep, this was absolutely not possible in the 1990s. Thanks, broadband.
Now, let's look up dinosaurs. What do you think? Compton's Encyclopedia or National Geographic?
See, kids, we once had what was called dial-up internet access, something that would make an awful mechanical noise while it connected to an internet service provider.
Sounds like a fax machine.
And would be painfully slow when you actually got online. And God forbid your mom needed the phone, because if she did, it was back to TV for you. As of 2013, only 3% of internet users still use dial-up.
Once selected, close your eyes and relax to the soothing, familiar sounds of a 56K modem.
We feel for you. Before we blow your kitty mind with our top pick, here are some honorable mentions.
Mid-90s, a friend says, hey, do you think by year 2000 you're still going to be doing typewriters? I said, probably not.
All the power and excitement of Nintendo right in the palm of your hand. Introducing Game Boy.
How lovely, darling. What is it?
It's a fax machine, Mother. You can send us letters by phone.
Number 1, floppy disk.
Why panic when you can rely on Maxell Super RD2 floppy disks?
Did you ever wonder just what that symbol in Microsoft Word is that lets you save the document you're working on?
Click the Save button. You'll find it on the Quick Access toolbar.
That little black and white square would be a floppy disk, which at one point in time, us older folk would actually use to save our progress on.
Come on, let go of my floppy.
By 1987, the 3.5-inch disc was all the rage because it could hold an astounding 1.44 megabytes of data. That's pretty crazy considering there are thumb drives today that can hold terabytes of information. And such technological advances have effectively eliminated the need for these plastic discs.
A nigga like me is down for whatever.
Maybe in a few years we'll be laughing at our measly terabyte thumb drives. Who knows?
You guys are crazy.
Do you agree with our list? What outdated technology do you think kids today wouldn't recognize?
You actually need something called film.
Oh yeah.
Film. Do you guys have film? Oh, like what they use in the movies?
For more up-to-date top 10s published every day, be sure to subscribe to WatchMojo.com.
Sony Betamax. It could change your whole way of life.